Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Good day to all of you beautiful people out there in Radio Land. You are on to Money Radio from Leadership Podcast, and this is the agribusiness segment of the program. Today we're discussing an interesting topic that says making Nigeria's agro-based industry count in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And in the studio to discuss that topic with me is Mr. Paul Uadima. So Paul, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I trust you had a beautiful week last week, and the brand new one, of course. Yeah,
Very well. Thank you.
you're welcome again. So, making Nigeria's agro-based industry count in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. How competitive will Nigeria be? Of course, Nigeria is a signatory to AfCFTA, and we see that things are turning out, different arrangements are progressing, and very soon AfCFTA will be in full gear. That question now remains, how is Nigeria preparing, especially Nigeria's agro-based goods? How is Nigeria preparing for the AfCFTA competition? So Paul, what do you think?
That's a $1 million question because here we are. The African Free Trade Area has taken off, and is the biggest, you can say the largest free trade area in the world. This is a free trade area that covers 55 countries, involving 1.3 billion people. Massive free trade area. That's not that figure you just heard shows you the opportunities and that is available in all sectors, including the agricultural sector, to take advantage of. It is massive, and it's an ambitious initiative by the continent, because this African Free Trade Area, the intention of the African leaders is to lift 33 million people out of poverty within a very short time. That's at least 30 to 33 million people out of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they mean, out of serious poverty. Then another agenda is to at least lift the economic status of about 60 million Africans, those who are living on $5 a day, to raise their income to more than $5 a day through the economic stimulation that it will generate in the continent. So it's a massive opportunity, and there is no better sector to exploit this opportunity that has been provided than agriculture. Other sectors like manufacturing, entertainment, and what have you, they are also gearing up to see what they can make out of it. But the truth of the matter is that, are we really prepared? How prepared are we? You ask the question whether we are prepared. That's the $1 million question. How prepared are we to take advantage of this? Don't forget that we are the largest, the most populous country in this continent. So actually, smaller countries will put us as a target.
Yeah, of course, a market.
Yes, as a target to come and dump their goods, and you can't stop them once you sign up.
Yeah.
So we are an opportunity for others. Others are also opportunity for us. So we have to make the best out of it by ensuring that we have a big chunk of these 1.3 billion people that are waiting to consume goods and services, especially agricultural produce from Nigeria.
Recently the federal government and the President Buhari was there when there was that exhibition of the rice pyramid here in Abuja, and the information released from the federal government then is that I wouldn't say then because it's something that just took place about 3 weeks ago. Uh, the information release is that the federal government has actually, or Nigeria has increased production of rice by at least 100% because from 4.5 million when the country was having a deficit of something in the neighborhood of 2.5 million because Nigeria consumes about 7 million metric tons of rice annually. So, information from that program was that Nigeria now produces 9 million metric tons. That creates an opportunity to export to AfTA.
Yeah,
How do you react to it?
yeah, it's an opportunity, but you can see that we have done very well in generating productivity from the agricultural sector, especially rice. But the truth of the matter is that have we produced enough rice to feed this country to the level that there will be equilibrium in demand and supply in rice, so that rice will be at a price that it will not be what it is today, where you need your minimum wage to buy a bag of rice.
But
So we have to be very careful.
Yeah,
We have to reach a point where rice should be very much affordable so that people can be able to buy rice at the rate of 10,000 naira a bag. Are you getting it? So that there will be sufficiency at home so that before we talk about export. Because my concern is this: the rice itself that is in the country is not enough to feed Nigerians. Let us be frank about it. Because if you go to the market, the figure you just mentioned is not in line with the inflation rate in the country. It's not in line with the market reports. So which means there's something going on. There's not something going wrong in the whole process. Rice, if we are producing as I know that we are now Africa's largest producer, but I want to state also that we're also Africa's largest consumer of rice.
that's true, of course.
So as a result of that, the one we have is not even enough. That's why we still smuggle. There's so much smuggling of rice going on, even as we speak, despite all the bans by federal government. So for us to be competitive as a major rice exporter, which we should be, because if we were able, as we have done under this administration, we're able to emerge the largest producer of rice in Africa. It's a very big milestone that we attained in the past few years. I think we can do better. So what stops us from putting another target so that we'll be the largest producer of rice in the world? Are you getting it?
Yes.
So that should be our target, because the amount of rice we have now may not make us to be able to be competitive in terms of exporting to other African countries on a serious note. Because what you're going to see is that if that becomes the case, some other countries will come and set up farms in other African countries to grow rice.
Yeah, but looking at it, looking at the figures say Nigeria consumes 7 million metric tons of rice.
Exactly.
And currently the country is producing 9 million metric tons.
Yeah, you are looking at it that we have excess of
Yes,
tons.
the excess of at least 1.5
Yeah, well, the jury is still out there whether that figure is bankable, whether that figure, because that figure is the jury is still out there about that figure. Because if the jury is still out there because of the figure, we have to take it with a pinch of salt, because it's not reflective of the market.
So
everybody who has visited the market recently to buy a bag of rice will not agree with you. So it doesn't really reflect the market. Unless these excess bags, excess quantity of rice are kept somewhere that we are not aware of. But from what is in the market, it's not reflective of that.
Well,
So
yeah.
I question that figure. And I think many Nigerians would also do that. Right.
Now, besides the issue of rice, we want to talk about infrastructure. But just before we go to infrastructure, which other crops, which other products, agricultural products, does Nigeria have strength, or does Nigeria have a comparative advantage to compete favorably with other African countries?
If you talk in terms of livestock, I think we have the largest population, third largest population of cattle in Africa. So you put us in a very competitive position in the continent. If the continent is to restrict importation of livestock, I think we'll be able to benefit a lot. Even without that, I think Nigeria is in a poor position to benefit from the livestock market in the continent. It's one area that we need to take advantage of along all the value chains of the livestock sector. There's a market for us there. Even in terms of fishery, there's market there for us. Don't forget, we're also among the major producers of cocoa in this continent. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
So we are primed to go into the value chains of cocoa. Very soon, many companies will be producing chocolate and all that within the continent, taking advantage of the free trade area. So there's a whole lot of opportunity for the agricultural sector.
Yeah, that's one area where Nigeria is deficient. In the area of cocoa, in terms of production of raw materials as well as processing. You know, Nigeria has, when it comes to advantage in terms of the soil, in terms of other things, Nigeria has advantage because Nigeria, of course, once was a major producer of cocoa.
Of course.
We also see that the technology or the kind of seeds, to produce cocoa in huge quantity, we need to improve in terms of technology because the seeds are old, the seeds are not much is being done in that industry, the cocoa industry.
No, I think things are being done.
But Nigeria is still performing poorly when it comes to production of cocoa. Of course, Nigeria is not among the first.
We are performing poorly because we are. I think right now in West Africa, Nigeria is about it's ranked number 3 after Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire.
Which other country in Africa?
There's no other country in Africa that produces as much cocoa as. Don't forget that Cote d'Ivoire is probably the largest producer of cocoa in the
world, of course,
in the continent and in the world.
No, in the world. Yeah.
So it's a given that it's West Africa that produces the largest quantity of.
Yes, but I know not that I also know that Ethiopia is a huge producer, and I think Ethiopia does produce more than Nigeria in terms of cocoa and coffee.
Yeah.
Cocoa and coffee. Ethiopia does well because that is one of their major exports. So they do well.
Yes,
those countries are adding value to their products also. It's not just the raw materials.
That is the way to go. That is the way to go. I think federal government need to look into how to conscientize Nigerian farmers and small scale businessmen to go into agricultural processing.
You know, Mr. Paul,
there's this president of NASEMA, this small and medium scale enterprises.
Smedan,
the president of Smedan. This Mr. Femi Pedro, the former deputy governor of Lagos State.
Yeah.
He was lamenting the other day that over 50% of small business owners in Nigeria are not even aware of the advantages they could get from African Continental Trade Area Agreement. Which means there is need for more enlightenment.
There is need for more enlightenment. But you know, Mr. Paul, this is one thing I tend to frown at. You know, when it comes to empowering our farmers, there is this responsibility issue, and people always push the responsibility to the federal government. But there are state governments that do, no, there are states that are that do better when it comes to the composition of their soil, that do better in the production of cocoa. Of course, the southwestern states are there. They are known for cocoa production. Why don't those states encourage their farmers to go into the production of cocoa and conscientize them, give them the kind of orientation they need that will that will propel them to producing more and even
you are correct. You are
construct
correct.
factories that will that will make them add value to this product.
Exactly, exactly. You are correct about that. It's part of the decades old neglect of the agricultural sector. Are you getting? It's not only the southwest that neglecting the southwest states that are neglecting financing cocoa production. Cocoa production, don't forget, is also very big very big in the south and southeast, because there are states in the south and southeast that are also they have climatic conditions that encourages the growth of
Friendly
cocoa.
to the growth
Yes, like Cross River State, Akwa Ibom, Abia State, Imo State. They are all cocoa producing areas that their states need to do something about to encourage the production of cocoa and benefit from the African Free Trade Area.
So Paul, we're not just talking about cocoa. We are going to
Of
talk
course,
also.
we are talking about
Agreed.
virtually every
Yes,
aspect
we are
of
going to
it.
talk about cashew. We are going to talk about ginger. We're going to talk about sesame. When we come back, let's take a short break. When we come back, we want to discuss those issues, and then we'll talk about the infrastructure that is needed to make Nigeria competitive on the after agreement. Stay tuned, listeners.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen in Radio Land. You are still on to Money Radio and Leadership Podcast, and this is the agribusiness segment of the program. In the studio with me is Mr. Paul Wadima, and I'm your host, Case Hammond. We are discussing how Nigeria can be more competitive when it comes to agricultural products in the AfTA agreement, or in the aftermarket, so to speak. And we're talking about a number of things. We talked about rice, we talked about cocoa, but there are many other areas where Nigeria can do better. Look at cassava production. Nigeria is actually the highest producer of cassava in the world. What value are we adding? We want to talk about cashew. We want to talk about, of course, cashew is one of the, and not to mention, we talked about cocoa, but before we even go to cassava and cashew and the other ones, I want us to talk about shea oil, shea butter. You know, shea butter is actually one of those products that is being used, and when it comes to cosmetics, that is being used to at least not replace, but at, to complement the production of cocoa butter, cocoa, you know, those things that are cocoa related. Cashew nut is a fine complement, and Nigeria is one of the largest producers of. That's how I say cashew nut. Shea butter,
Yes.
is one of the.
Yes.
And the thing is just there, like our founding chairman, Mr. Sam Udaya Ndazaya would say, Nobody planted these things. It's the elephants that planted it, as it is, as the legend has it. It's the elephants that just took this thing from here to that place, and we see it in huge quantity. What are we doing about all of this? Because these things are in demand in other countries.
Yeah, I think what you pointed out is you are giving free information to investors about the opportunities that are bound in the value chain of share butter. And I think people better take advantage of it, especially because of this after we are talking about. You know, most most of these markets are dominated by foreigners
Yes.
in our continent, because now we are looking at our continent as one entity, as one country, so to say. The French, the British, the Americans, they are the ones dominating all these things. But we want to reach a point where the continent will take over in the production of all these value chains. And when you are talking about 1.3 billion people, you can see that the market is massive. What it means is that there need to be synergy between the private sector, especially the banks and the investors, to raise the necessary money to invest in the in the production of things that requires the use of share butters. For you to do that, you need capital, and you know that capital is a problem right here in Nigeria. A lot of people have fine ideas that is in their portfolio, but they cannot be able to execute it because of funding. What you have said is you have just exposed the opportunity that is available that can be exploited so that Nigerians can take advantage of after. You can imagine when you have a company like that set up in all the six geographic zones of this country, or the political geopolitical zones of this country. The amount of jobs it will generate, because of the manufacturing companies will not be focusing on Nigerian market alone, which is also huge, but they will be looking at a population of 1.3 billion people. It is massive. I hope that people who listen to this program, that you give them an idea of what to do. And it's not only in that, both in palm produce, both in cotton, there is a whole lot of things that big, big investors can benefit. Okay, look at, let me digress. You can see that what Dangote is doing, investing all over Africa. What is he doing? Everywhere he goes, he invests massively, taking advantage of the limestone that is readily available in our continent.
Yes.
So the same thing can be applicable in this level, in this the agricultural sector. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So that people take advantage of this opportunity, set up industries, set up factories all over the continent, and create jobs in our continent, and they reduce poverty. Because if you look at the one of the reasons, some of the reasons that AfCFTA was formed is actually to lift Africans out of poverty. Because the truth be told, we are the poorest continent in the world.
Yeah.
Every indices of development is against us. There is no part of development that we can say we are doing well
Yes.
compared to other continents. So anything that could be done to lift our people out of poverty is accepted, as long as it's done legally. And this is an opportunity to do it. Like I mentioned, Dangote, he has shown an example of what to do. He has shown what is, he was in AfCFTA before the AfCFTA was formed. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Dangote has shown it. Now, what it means that all the bottlenecks that used to be against people like that, things like Dangote, are being removed by this agreement.
Yes.
There will be no more bottlenecks, because there are some places that he had wanted to set up his companies in our continent here, and because of all manner of trade restrictions, he can't be able to do it. Now with AfCFTA, he can be able to do that.
Yes.
And what is good for Dangote is also good for anybody who want to take advantage of the agricultural sector and spread his or her wings all over the continent, setting up factories that generate jobs throughout the continent and in our country here in Nigeria particularly, because being the largest populated country in Africa, we have the largest population of poor people. Poverty is more in Nigeria than any other place.
Yes,
in our
a
continent.
recent figure puts it at 90 million.
Yes.
That is too much.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Paul, we are talking about Nigeria's potential, and not just potential, what Nigeria can do to remain competitive in AfCFTA. I want us to end this show with your comment on infrastructure. Infrastructurally, how prepared is Nigeria to meet the demands of AfCFTA or to take her own pie?
I think, to be frank with you, we are not prepared. Why I'm saying that we are not prepared is that if you look at the cost of power in Nigeria, it's the highest in Africa. It's one of the highest in the world, if not the highest in the world. We are having a power sector that has totally collapsed. And you need power to drive the manufacturing sector, the agricultural sector, and in fact, every other sector. So if you don't have power, or power is epileptic, or power doesn't even exist at all, how can you be competitive with somebody that has stable power and where power is cheaper? Are you getting it? So we cannot be competitive. How can we compete with Ghana when it comes to power? How can we compete with Tunisia? How can we compete with Egypt when we don't have power? So the truth of the matter is that until we handle these things, we may be watching smaller countries with a lesser population than we have here will take over AfCFTA, and we'll be watching. So we need to do something about our power sector. We need to find a way of making it cheaper. We need to diversify our power sources. We need to democratize our power sector so that you don't have to get approval from Abuja for a state to have power of its own. You don't have to depend on Abuja for a city to be powered in this country. You don't need the support of Abuja for the industrial sector to be powered. So we have to democratize the power sector if we are serious to benefit from this AfCFTA. If not, we'll just be watching things pass us by. That's the best. I just take power alone.
Take roads in 30 seconds. Take roads.
I've not gone into roads. Of course, we have the largest road network in Africa, but our roads are bad. About 70 or 80% of the roads were bad. They were built during the civilian administration of Shagari, and then
military administration
and some military administration. They built some roads, but these roads have not been maintained. The cost of maintaining them is even bigger than the cost of building it initially. So we are in a very serious mess.
Yes.
In that case, you can rightly say that we are not ready. What we are trying to do, what we may end up doing is our usual fire brigade approach. But I think we can still do something now. We can still try to find a way about it. We are resilient people. We can dominate in agriculture just the way we are dominating in entertainment in Africa. We are even with AfCFTA or without AfCFTA, we are already dominating the continent in entertainment, in music, in film, and all that. We can do the same thing in the agricultural sector. But we need to fix our power. We need to fix our roads. We need to ensure that we encourage our farmers by investing in them, by making sure that our budgets annually reach up to 10% of our total annual budget goes to agricultural sector, as was signed by this country and other African countries in 2003 or 2004 under the Maputo Declaration, that every country in Africa should devote 10% of its annual budget to the funding and development of agriculture. That is the only way we can be sure of tomorrow taking advantage of AfCFTA in the agricultural sector.
Having said that, you have mentioned what individual Nigerians can and are doing, but the government needs to do its part.
Of course.
That's how we want to draw the curtains today on Money Radio. You have been onto the agro-business segment of the program, and we have been talking about making Nigeria's agro-based industry count in AfCFTA. In the studio discussing that with me has been Paul Uwadima. So Paul, thanks for being in the studio with us.
Thank you for
We thank our producers also for making this happen. We thank you, our listeners who follow us loyally. We say thank you very much and continue to do so. I've been your host, Case Hammond. Until we meet for another edition of Money Radio, message from this studio is COVID-19 is real. Stay safe and stay blessed. Have a nice day.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.